Do you want this?
Alrighty, and we're on. Hey, so I've got Jude Kean and Hayden Limebeer here today, and we're sitting out the back of Grappling Education, and it was quite funny. These boys are like, "Oh, what are we going to talk about? There's so much you can talk about."
I don't even know what to talk about. I feel important. I feel special.
Kick it off. Let me know.
Well, okay, let's sort of start with this question because I'm always very curious about why people get into combat sports in the first place, right? So, can we start with let's start with you, Jude. What got you into jiu-jitsu in the first place?
My brother came home one day and he's like, "Oh, I've been doing this thing called jiu-jitsu," and I was like, "That doesn't work." And he pretty much proceeded to choke me out in our back room, and then made me run every day for 2 weeks until I was finally allowed to come to jiu-jitsu. And then he beat me so bad that I wanted to quit. And then I was like, "Wait, if I get good at this, I can bash my older brother." So
that was
my motivation.
And
It
he
stuck.
finally made it.
Wow. And so, okay, out of curiosity, what made him go to jiu-jitsu? Like, was it something like
My
your parents
other
pushed him?
brother.
Or? Oh, your other brother.
Yeah.
Hey, how many brothers you got?
I got 3 brothers and a sister.
3 brothers and a sister.
Yes.
So there's 5 of you together.
There's 5 of us, yes.
Wow. Okay, I'm very curious. Let me ask you about this because I've got 4 kids of my own now. What was it like for you guys growing up in that household? Like, it would have been fucking busy, right?
It was busy, but I don't know. It's normal to me. I don't know anything else, so it was nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was the youngest, so I was spoiled and beaten viciously by my brother.
All right. How about you, Hayden? What made you get into combat sports?
I was always very interested in, like, say, MMA and things like that. Like
Bring that up. Talk right into it. Yep.
But similar story. So my brother actually started first, and then he goes, "Oh, you want to come try jiu-jitsu?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I knew what it was." So I went down, and I was like, "Oh man, I've been going to the gym. I'm strong. I'm gonna smash everyone." Went there and proceeded to get absolutely fucked up, and I was like, "Wow, I love this shit." And then I continued on. He actually stopped after about a year.
Coward.
Yeah. He got a job. He was doing his apprenticeship and that.
Yep.
And,
Talk right into it. Come on, Hayden.
Sorry,
Man. I got to remind you.
I'm that guy on the podcast now.
Yeah.
And then I just kept going, and then I just fell in love with it, and then that was pretty much what I did every day and nothing else, and I was a bit of a bum for a bit. And then, yeah, still here doing the same thing.
So, okay, like, it's one of those things where it's an unforgiving sport, and you, in any combat sport, you go through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, right?
Mm.
So perhaps both of you can speak to this. Like, surely there's been times when you're like, why the fuck am I still doing this?
I got flying triangled by a 16-year-old in this exact gym on the live stream, and I wanted to neck myself.
When was that?
Dude, that was like
On the live stream, what?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I wanted to cry, man. I went out the back of that gym. I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I hate this.
You just felt so embarrassed.
I felt so embarrassed, but my ex-girlfriend now at the time, I don't know, I think she thought I was tough or something, and then she watches me get flying triangled by a kid. Yeah, I was ashamed.
And how about you, Hayden? Has there been moments where you were like, why am I still doing this? Like, what am I doing in my life?
Yeah. So, like, when I was 2 years into it, I changed gyms, and there was a bit of MMA at that gym, and then being a bit naive, and the coach at the time was like, "Yeah, man, take an MMA fight." And I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah, I've been doing pads for like 3 months now. Should be good to go." And I got myself knocked out my very first fight.
Wow.
Flatlined.
Flatline?
Bad.
What was it, a punch or a kick?
Yeah,
or?
just a punch, like 10 seconds into a round, in the end of a round. I was just out. And then I was like, why am I doing this, man? I was like, what the fuck?
Yep.
But then eventually got back in there. And then, yeah, still love it. But yeah, that was probably one of the lowest points. Definitely rocked me for a bit. And I always hated competing.
Yeah.
For the longest time when I started. So it took me a while to get over that. I love it now. But yeah, it was definitely some moments where I was just like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then, just keep doing it and eventually got better at it. But yeah, it's definitely the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, that's for sure.
What do you think about, like, what do you think it was about competing that you didn't like? And I guess to give you guys a little bit of time to think about this one. So I would liken this to, okay, here's the story from my end, right? So being Asian, I love to play computer games, right? When I was growing up, I had another mate, and he's part of the reason why I started this podcast. He committed suicide and he's no longer with us. But one of my high school mates, Adrian, we used to play StarCraft, like true Asian style, like till like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning.
Just sounds Asian.
And go to bed. Like during the school holidays, I'd wake up earlier, and then this is in the days where there's no internet. Like it's literally modem to modem. So you'd call up on the phone line. I'd call him and wake him up in the morning. He'd have breakfast, and we'd just be talking shit. And then we'd literally like we just link up the computers and play StarCraft for the rest of the afternoon until 2 a.m. again, right? And like one of the things about like, because that's I guess the first of that style of competitive esports style games, and so we used to play heaps, right? And you know, you think you're pretty good, and then you fucking lose, and you're like, why do I fucking waste my life on this shit? Like, like that's the simplest way that I can put it, in the sense that, you know, you sort of go, you either embrace competition and try and learn from those lessons and get better each time, or you sort of come away and you go, why am I still doing this? Like, why am I still playing this game? All right. And so, you know, for me, when I started to get over that sort of fear of competition, it was more like, okay, what is the purpose of competition, right? And I'd sort of break it down in the idea that, like, it's not just to win. The idea of competition is to challenge yourself. And every time you make the walk, or you play the game or whatever, you're either going to win or lose. But then what do you actually do as a result of that win or loss? Like, do you actually go back and review like why you won or why you lost? And did you actually get better? And so I think one of the things that changed for me over the years, especially with martial arts, was that when you're young and you've got like this massive ego, you always want to try and test yourself. Right? It's about proving yourself. But then, for me, like the start of my MMA career was fucking shit. Like, I lost heaps of fights in a row. I won my first one, and like the worst finish ever. It was literally like I was piecing this guy standing, and then he tried to take me down, and I've like done a hip throw, flipped him over, and a bulldog choked the guy.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, right?
So
True schoolyard bully style, right? But then as a result of that, like I've told this story before, so sorry if people have heard this one, but literally, like, you know, you win your first fight and you go, oh yeah, fuck, you know, I'm really good or whatever, and then you lose your second one, you go, oh, but I know I can win, right? Because I've won before. And then you lose like 3 more, and it's like, oh, hang on a second.
Start to doubt yourself.
You start to doubt yourself. And then, so that's when I realized that, hey, you know, there's a reason why you lose, right? You're just not technically good enough. You're missing something technical, all right? There's a fucking reason why you're losing. Like, so for you boys, I'm a little bit curious, you know, how like in terms of approaching competition, like what was your story in terms of like, when did that switch flip for you in terms of embracing the idea of competition? And Jude, like, I'm curious about your thoughts as well, because, you know, you're heavily competing now.
For me, I think it was when I started, I stopped seeing it for winning and losing, and it was more for just the process. And rather than thinking of the outcome, it was more about the challenge in front of me and focusing on that process to actually get the task done, as opposed to what the end result would be.
Yep.
And then I found that by doing that, it made the whole process a lot more fulfilling, and I could kind of do it more often without putting so much pressure on myself for the end result, as long as I was giving it my all. And that was a lot more satisfying, and then the results started to follow along with that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what changed for me, I think. And then I stopped being so like, oh no, what if I lose this and that? I was like, no, as long as I go out there and I know I've given my best and I've trained hard and I've ticked all those boxes, then I was happy with that.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was kind of what changed for me.
Yeah, so basically distancing yourself from the outcome, like whatever the outcome's going to be is going to be.
Trying to become a little bit more process focused as opposed to the end result.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about you, Jude?
Mine's honestly the complete opposite. I lost my first 4 comps. I got brutalized. I got bashed my first 4 comps, and I just wanted to win. And then once I won, it was like addictive.
Yep.
It's like a good feeling.
Yeah.
Because it was white belt, I was like, what if I win at a high level? That'll feel even better.
Yep.
So I just wanted to win. It's a pretty lame answer.
No, it's...
Hayden's was all philosophical, and mine's
I
want to
still
win.
want to win. Don't
yeah.
get me wrong, I still hate fucking losing.
I hate losing so much. I get depressed for like a month when I lose.
Yeah, well, I don't, like, the reality is nobody likes losing.
No.
Right? And you're conditioned on that as a kid. You know, when you win, you get all the accolades. Maybe it's a little bit different nowadays.
Yeah,
like, everybody gets a fucking participation award.
We don't do that.
But you know, like, I used to, my wife always makes fun of me because I was like, second's just the first loser. Like, I used
If you're
to say
not
shit
first,
like
you're
that.
last.
Yeah, right. And then my daughter's been picked up this saying at school. Like, they started chanting things like, first is the worst, second is the best, and third you've got a hairy chest. And I'm like, oh, let me stop you right there, babe. Like, let me stop you right there, Cadis.
That ain't it.
that ain't it. When you're first, you're first.
Yeah.
If you're second, you're the first loser. and people would probably look at me like, well, this dad's like one of those fucking crazy
he's a
dads,
psycho.
right? Yeah.
I feel like you have to be like that, though. Otherwise, you're not going to... When you do win, it's not going to feel special. And that's... Like, it's meaningless if you tell them that first means nothing.
Yeah. Like,
When it's
well,
like
there's
if
no
you're-
grounding in reality if you were to let them get away with thinking that, okay, if you're first, it's the worst. No.
No one's
Your
going to
first
want to
is
get
first.
better anyways.
Yeah.
If you come last and you get the same result as the person that comes first, I don't think you're going to want to put any effort in.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's a weird mentality, I reckon.
I don't like it at all. My dad was the complete opposite.
So did your dad push you pretty hard, like sports
Yeah,
wise?
not with jiu-jitsu. I think he still thinks it's karate. But
Okay.
I played rep soccer growing up, and he was all over that.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was all about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were they like?
I feel like that's Aussie dads in general.
Yeah.
But were they trying to live vicariously through you guys?
Probably.
You reckon there's a bit of that or not?
I don't
No,
know.
my dad's a good guy. He was just supportive. He still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Because there are those parents that like, you know, they push their kids so hard
no,
because
my dad
they
was
never made
weird
it,
with
you know?
Nah. My dad played a high level of soccer too, but I don't know. He was never living vicariously through me. I think he just wanted me to. I think he thought I liked it more than I did, but I was kind of just doing it for him for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, my story is much the same.
Yeah.
It got very
once I
boring.
got to my early teens, I was like, fuck, why am I doing this? And I just didn't enjoy it. You know, I wanted to be cool instead. And
Yeah, I
hang out
discovered
with my
what
mates
smoking
and stuff.
cones was, and soccer was out the window. It was over.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about childhood a little bit because I think that's always interesting, right? So, you know, Jude, you had a big household. What about you, Hayden? Did you have any siblings?
No, I have a younger brother.
Just a younger brother?
Just one, yeah.
Yep. And then, so for you, like, how would you describe your childhood? Like, what was it like for you growing up?
Great. Very stereotypical childhood, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, good mum and dad, brother. We fight a bit, you know, but we're good mates now and like get along. You know, I had some challenges in primary school and all that stuff, but overall, like I was pretty academic. I did pretty well. It wasn't until I got to like high school where things started to slip a little bit, as they tend to.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, very standardized upbringing, I would say.
And what were the challenges that, you know, you said some challenges in primary school? Like, what were they?
Like there was bullying, things like that. I felt like
You getting bullied?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Have you seen photos of Hayden when he was younger? He's the cutest kid I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Fucking what happened?
Fucking fine. No way. My missus is still asking the same thing.
The bullying, what do you think?
The bullying turned him into this.
Yeah,
It's a little bit of bullying is sometimes good.
what-
Yeah, it was good. It was good for the character building, you know?
What did they bully you over?
Oh, just all kinds of things, you know? Just like standard kid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
just
so
got left
curious.
out and
What was
things
the
like
main
that.
one?
I got
Tell him the
called
story, tell him the
chubby a lot.
story.
Oh, and there was this one time, it was pretty traumatic, bro. We're at like, when you know those after school care type things, so you know you go on excursions sometimes. And all the kids like banded together like, oh, we'll go like, you know those Funorama type places?
Yeah.
Well, they're like, oh, we'll all meet at the slide. And then I'm like, yeah, sick. And then we all meet there and then everyone runs. I'm just standing there on my own like, oh, all right, guys, cool. And I'm just up the top of this thing. Everyone's legged it. And I'm just like, oh, man, this sucks.
Oh,
That's probably what
they dead set just left you behind.
Yeah.
That's
I was
where
telling Jude this story the other day. He's like, oh, you got bullied? I was like, yeah, a little bit. And then I told him that. And he's like, man, that's fucking traumatic.
I felt so bad, but it's so funny.
How many kids were there? Like,
Oh, like 6, 8, I don't know, something like that.
that's a pretty
Yeah.
big group
Yeah,
to
yeah,
organise.
yeah,
You guys
yeah.
like, hey, we're all gonna call Hayden
I don't know,
out,
it was weird,
and
eh?
then we're just gonna fucking leg it. For him.
Yeah. But no, I never experienced anything like once I hit high school and all that stuff. It was like kind of the end of it. I don't know. It was weird time. But
And did you ever work out why?
no, not really.
Like-
To be honest, I don't know. I just kind of stuck to myself. Played sport. I was like obsessed with soccer at that time.
Yeah.
It's before I got kind of over it. So that's all I did. Like I just played sport and did that. I
Yeah.
don't know. I had a small group of friends and stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
It was
Okay.
interesting.
Jude,
That was deep, man. They left you at the top of the slide. I could see that in your eyes.
that's
It's still
fucking.
soft. It still hurts.
That's rough. That is rough. Like, and look, and reality is like kids are gonna find all sorts of reasons
Yeah,
to
man.
pick
Kids
on
are
each
kids.
other.
Like
That's
it's part of growing up. I feel like there's obviously levels to it, but I wouldn't say anything I went through was that horrible. To be fair, like still-
Something just came to my mind about. So, one of my primary school mates, there was this girl that like Peter Pants or whatever, and then he would make up names for all the kids, and like when I think back on it, it's like, fuck, that's actually pretty slack. But he used to call her Leak.
Wait, what a creative guy.
That's pretty good.
And so, like, you know, when he used to talk about people with me, like, he'd, like, have all these nicknames. And, like, that one just came to my mind about, like, you know, finding a reason to tease somebody. And it's like, you know...
Oh, look, I wasn't peeing my pants or nothing like that. So.
You just go... But there has to be a reason why they were fucking isolating.
I don't know. Hey, I never really got to the bottom of it. Kind of... at the time, I did.
Hayden locked it in a very
it's
deep box
in
inside
a
of
deep,
him.
dark box.
Yeah.
Inside and, bury that stuff. I just do jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah, fair enough. Dude?
Oh, I don't even know what we're talking about.
We're
now.
talking
I got
about
so
childhood.
sidetracked.
Like, what
My
was your
childhood was
childhood?
awesome. My child was blessed. Literally nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
Like, my parents, amazing. Support, amazing. Obviously, I would fight a lot with my siblings. Me and my brother had an ongoing beef for about 8 years growing up. It was on site every day. We still lived together. It was on site. We'd throw hands every day. Every single day. But, I don't know. Same thing as Hayden. As I got to high school, it started to change a lot.
Yep.
But I don't know, none of that was childhood based. That was all me. My childhood was awesome. I had nothing to complain about whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, well, for high school is an interesting one because like a lot of the times your parents obviously start to take a bit of a step back in terms of what they tell you to do. Like that's what happened for me. Like I was a academic kid. I'm Asian, right? Like I got to be good at math. Got to fucking play piano, right? I got to be the stereotype. And look, there is probably no Asian that's more stereotypical than me. Likes motorbikes, rides sports bikes. Into martial arts. Like I was that kid, right? Like I'm that fucking Asian kid that does everything Asian, right? The only thing I didn't do is become a fucking doctor. Like ticked majority of the boxes, just not that one.
Just not
all of them except the doctor and lawyer.
Oh, I got the lawyer box ticked because I studied law. So
what? There you go.
So, but I just didn't become a doctor, right?
This breaks everything.
So, anyway, we can talk about that later. But when you go to high school, it's like your parents take the foot off the pedal a little bit. So you just sort of realize, I don't need to do any of this stuff. I'll just muck around and, playing with your mates is obviously more fun.
I just thought I was cool.
So you thought you were cool?
Oh, yeah. I went for a little bit of a lad phase.
Yeah.
I don't know. It got bad for a bit. It was like I thought I was Cursor himself.
So when you went to high school, right? Like, obviously you had elder siblings in the school as well, right?
Nah, they all went to Oak Hill and Marion, and then I went to a public school.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What did your parents not like you enough?
Nah.
It's like, you know what, this one?
We're just gonna he doesn't deserve to go to a private school.
I went to a private school for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to have laptops and all this, and I was like, I'm not the smartest kid, man, I'll be honest. Like, I hated it. I'd open my laptop and I'd get depressed looking at the screen. I'd be like, what am I doing, bro? Like, everything's on laptops. I don't understand this. So I had to sook to my parents, and they're like, if you really want, we can take you to another school. And in my head, I was like, the coolest school I could go to is Golston. Like, that's the spot, man.
Why was that the cool school?
Because it was, this sounds weird now, but like looking back, it was like all the cool kids went to that school. It's like you went to a parties and it's like, oh yeah, the Golston kids here. I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. That's going to be me.
Yeah.
And it eventually became that, minus the coolness.
So then for you, like in high school, like what kind of kid were you? Like, were you, how like there's different groups, they all have like, there's
well,
like
what can I say on this thing?
Yeah, you say whatever you want.
Full junkie. Like,
you're a full junkie?
Got bad, man. I left school in
honest.
Yeah, I left school at the end of year 8 to pursue my dream of smoking cones and eating Xanax.
Wow. And okay, I've got to ask this then. So when was your first time like being exposed to weed?
Like the end of year 6, my mate Austin Caruana, for some reason if he's watching this, good stuff. Me and him were always talking about smoking weed. He was like my mate. He was the only man I knew that was like, he was wearing Air Maxes, listening to Oz rap. I was like, yeah, this guy's cool. This is my best friend. And he's like, we should smoke weed one day. We didn't end up smoking it together, but as soon as he put the idea into my head, I was asking everyone for weed. And then I stole the weed off someone in my family.
Okay.
And I smoked it out of an apple at the back of my house. And from then I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is awesome. And funny story, actually, when my parents found out I was smoking weed, they thought I was like sniffing deodorant.
Yeah.
Because I'd smoke it in my room and then I'd spray with deodorant. And my parents were fully convinced I'd sit in my room just sniff an aerosol all day.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how.
And then did they ever, like, as a parent, did they ever broach the topic and go, hey, Jude, like, we can get you some real stuff? Like, let's not fucking sniff the deodorant.
Nah, bro, they thought weed was worse than sniffing deodorant.
They thought weed was worse.
They've changed their opinions a little bit now, but I don't know, man. For a while, there was like a lot.
Yeah, well. All right. How about you, Hayden?
So I originally went to Endeavour High School, and I got into their like targeted sports program.
Yeah, they're a sports school.
So I was doing soccer there for year 7, and then towards the end of year 7 is when I kind of got sick of it, and then I actually left the program, and then was still at the school, but then kind of changed the group of friends I was hanging around, because obviously like in those sports programs, those kids kind of tend to stick together a little bit.
Yep.
But once I'd left that, I kind of made a new group of friends and all this stuff. And then one thing led to another, kind of ended up in a bit of a suspect group.
Yeah.
So similar to Jude, not quite as, straightforward, but by year 9, I wasn't really going to school a whole lot. Year 9, I actually went 3 total days in the whole year.
Yeah.
And that whole year was a bit of a clusterfuck. Got into a bit of trouble, things like that. And then one day I woke up and I was like, what the fuck am I doing, eh? I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I was like, I went back to school, And I was like, I'm going to try real hard. But by that time, like all the teachers are like, oh, this guy again.
They've
like,
written you off.
Yeah, pretty much. So I remember I was in class one time and then I'm like, I'm going to ask a question. I'm like, I'm going to actually try and learn something. And I was like, put my hand up and the teacher's like, nah, just put it down. I was like, no, seriously, like I want to ask. And they're like, just nah. And I was like, what the fuck? So I just literally got up out of my chair right then and there, left, didn't say a word to anyone, went home, deleted my Facebook, changed my phone number. And then I was like to my parents, I was like, I want to go to a new school. And then I just literally did not speak to a single person I knew then. Like people thought I died.
Wow.
I just disappeared. And I ended up going to Bosco High School, which isn't that far away. It's only over in Engadine, but because it's like a private school, no one really knew anyone from. And I was obviously hanging out with kids who barely went to school anyway. So I just went MIA for a whole year, repeated year 9, and then I kind of got myself back on track for a while. And that was kind of a short version of high school years.
Out of curiosity, you know, was that a hard pill for you to swallow to repeat a year?
Yes and no. I don't really remember, to be honest. I kind of felt like I missed it all anyway, so it didn't really matter.
So you really actually just doing it for the first time.
I was always young for the year I was in anyway, so it was kind of normal. Like I was always young for the year. Like I was, you know how people are born like right on the cutoff.
Yep.
I was always on that other side just so. When I repeated, I was just kind of the normal age. So it wasn't like, oh, this guy, he's older, you know, he's a dumb fuck. Like, repeating. Like no one really
I was going to say, did you get bullied then as
no,
well?
not at all, actually. I was very different then. But yeah, no, I went to that school and then I kind of knuckled down for a bit. I isolated myself a lot because I was so paranoid to like go out in public and run into the people I used to be friends with.
Yeah.
So I kind of just stuck to myself heaps during that period of time and tried to do the school thing. Eventually realised he's like, you know what, this is not really my thing. And I would rather do other stuff. So I eventually left and then went to TAFE and stuff like that. But I got myself back on track.
Yeah.
Quick, smart.
So then, like, what was the tipping point when you were hanging out with this suspect group where you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to fucking be doing this?
Oh, bro, like...
It would have to be some pretty bad shit, right?
Yeah, like people going to juvie and things like that. And,
you
know, getting in heaps of trouble. The police were involved in a lot of stuff. And I just kind of was like, what the fuck am I doing, man? I'm going to end up in jail or something.
Yeah.
So I was just like, nah, this isn't for me. And I was never really, you know... I was trying to fit in.
Yeah.
So I was never like, I don't know. I was part of the group, but I was always like...
A follower still.
Yeah, kind of. And I was like, you know, I don't want to be that guy. So I was just like, honestly, one day, it's just like a switch flipped. And then I was just like, nah, I'm done.
This is me going like, you know, reading into it a little bit there. But, you know, after getting left behind by all those kids, it's like you found a group, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like you're trying to fit in, right?
Seriously, yeah. Because like you want to be accepted, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I'm cool. I'm part of that crew.
Yeah.
Like I'm the cool group. Like I was trying to be, you know, like Jude character, you know?
Yeah.
Like I want to be one of the cool kids. Like
one of the lads.
You know, you're a teenager. Like it's all you care about at the time, most anyway. But yeah, I guess in a way, yeah, probably. Yeah. And then I kind of just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? Fuck this. And that was it.
Yeah. It's I find that really interesting because there are so many guys that, you know, might be in a similar situation, but just never wake up, right? Like, and they just get roped into bad shit.
Yeah.
And then they just like, you know, I never wanted to live this life, but I don't know anything else.
Yeah.
Right. But for you to be able to turn around and one day just wake up and just literally like, you know, you tried to ask a question in class.
No, bro.
And then, the teacher says, no, shut the fuck up, sit down. And then you're just like, all right, fuck, I'm out of here.
Like, yeah, nah.
And then delete Facebook. Like, I think that's actually amazing because like to be able to go and say, okay, I don't need to have any of these people in my life anymore.
Well, I think at the time I didn't really know what else to do. Hey, I was like, well, if I try and just tell them, nah, I don't want to hang out with you, they're going to be like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I just have to disappear. So I was like, in my mind at the time, I felt like that was the answer to it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, nah, I'm just going to disappear, like literally delete every social media, everything, change my number, just say nothing to anyone and just hide. Did
you like parents ever ask you, you know, is everything okay? Or
yeah, like they, I think they were just happy because they were like, you know, they were like freaking out. Obviously, I'm getting in trouble and stuff. So they were just happy that like one day they were more concerned of the fact that like, he wants to behave, like,
don't interfere with
him. Yeah, like, just let him do his thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think they were happy, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, of course they were. But yeah, no, they kind of just let me do my thing and supported me along that way.
Wow. Okay.
Super weird.
Yeah, that's fucking pretty amazing. Like, you know, as I said, I think most people in that position, they'd find it really hard to get out of it. You know, you see that with adults. You know, people work in these jobs and they're just like, they hate life. But then they go, I don't know what to do. I don't know anything else. Like they're conditioned to just feel like they're just stuck in the system.
Yeah.
So, you know, you went through that at a very early age, but to be able to turn around and say, hey, that's actually not how I want to live.
I think I was lucky to go through it at such an early age though, because, you know, I feel like the longer you do it and the longer you progress, the older you get, the harder it is.
Yeah.
So
I
think like, you know, I'm thankful that did happen at that time as opposed to like, you know, in my late teens or early 20s.
Yeah.
For example, I feel like at that stage, it's definitely a big change to make.
Yeah.
Once you've been doing it your whole life. But yeah.
It's a trap, right? I guess for people that are adults, right? When you get stuck working a job and maybe you're okay at it, you're good at it, right? And so then the money starts to go up, and then it's like you get a bigger mortgage, you get all these other things, and you're like, I can't afford to not work.
Yeah.
Right? I call it the golden handcuffs, right?
Yeah.
Like you feel like, you got the money that you need to support this lifestyle, but then you're not happy working that lifestyle, or you're not happy because you don't have any time, right? You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have any time to spend it, you're still fucked.
Yeah.
Right. And on the flip side, if you have no money, but all the time in the world, you start thinking, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that.
Like
like it's a different
do in that time anyway.
Yeah, you got no money to spend, right?
Yeah.
So
I think you got to find a balance of that.
Yeah. That and find something that you're actually passionate about, right? Like that was one of the things. Like, for me, when I left automotive, like I still love that industry, but I feel like it's time for me to close that chapter. Like, there's no point in me going back into that because I've always had like these two pathways in my life. Like even I remember when I did a mechanical apprenticeship, and the boss I'm very grateful to the opportunities he gave me. But I remember he sat me down and he basically said to me, Johnny, you got to choose. And his thing was like he's actually a really good golfer, and he was like, I could have gone and played professional golf or whatever, but in the end I chose to do my mechanical apprenticeship. Now I own this business. I make $10 million a year. I don't have to come to work if I don't want. I got all these people that obviously do this and that, but that's the choice that he made. And so I don't begrudge that. I think like he made a smart choice for that particular time in life of him growing up, because I feel like it's very different nowadays. Like information is so easily accessible, and we're seeing this with jiu-jitsu, right? To sort of tail it back into combat sports, it's like whether it's Jeremy or any of these guys are producing all these high quality level instructionals, like the Danaher ones or you name it, right? Any of the top level guys all produce these instructionals that we can all go and learn and access this information from. You can even go on YouTube, right? And find videos for free to level up your game. But you can go on YouTube to learn any fucking skill that you want.
Yeah, ask Kel.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kel has blessed both of us with that.
Yeah.
If I've learned one thing working here, it's that if you need to figure something out, find it on YouTube.
Well, a few weeks ago, like, so to share a story about Hayden, right? Like, Hayden's sitting there at the computer. I could hear like this video going. I thought, oh, is this guy watching an instructional or something? And then I realized, so I go out to check out on what Hayden's doing. And he goes, oh, Johnny, honestly, I got no fucking idea what I'm doing, but I'm trying to edit this video. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, you can look up on YouTube to see how you, and Hayden's like, yeah, that's what I've been doing. I'm like, fucking good on you.
I'm doing all right now too, I think.
Fucking oath. Like, it's one of those things that, when you start anything new, you don't know what you're doing.
No, but it was like that with jiu-jitsu too. Like I didn't know what I was doing at the start either.
Yeah.
I mean, you just figure it out as you go.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that I think a lot of people never get to experience. It's like, that's why people love, the Book of Five Rings, the Miyamoto Musashi book, where he talks about, when you find the way in one thing, you can find it in anything.
Yeah.
So the simple fact that you can get good at jiu-jitsu or good at any particular task means that you can actually do anything that you want to do. The problem is the motivation to do it.
Yeah. I think once you learn how to learn, you can kind of apply it to anything as long as you're somewhat interested in it and have the want to actually go and pursue the information. Yeah. Like you're saying, like it's out there to access. If you've got the drive to actually go and look for it and get it, like there's nothing stopping you pretty much learning anything.
Anything. Yeah, you can learn how to play guitar from YouTube. Yeah. So, Jude, a bit curious about, how deep did you go in terms of your lad phase and
story time?
Yeah. Fuck. All right. Where do we start first of all?
Just start from the earliest. Like obviously, so you had your first cone, and you're like, "This is what I fucking want to do."
Honestly, the cones part was like, that was just fun, and then it was like, started listening to Curse. I'm not gonna blame it on rap music, but I was like, these are my people. Like I feel heard around these people, and then I just started like, all my mates were like that. I don't know. I was always friends with the older kids in school, and then when I left school, all my mates were like, just eshe spec. Like no one has a job. Everyone's either selling drugs or stealing shit to make money, and it's just like I don't know, man. It got very deep. Like my best mate died from an overdose, and then the week before that, someone was trying to run us over with a car, and then. Fuck, so much stuff happened, man. Like,
so, okay, let's go back a couple of steps. That's two pretty big events that you just sort of glossed over like they were nothing, right?
Yeah, man.
So
just almost got right.
Can we talk about your mate a little bit first?
Yeah, that was kind of at the end of it. That's kind of what opened my eyes, and I was like, oh, I got to stop doing this. It was a slow slow road to getting somewhat normal again. But that just, I don't know. He wasn't junky. Like, he was the best out of all of us. He was like, he'd hang around us. He was a genius, man. This dude could sit there and draw for hours. He was an artist, man. His stuff should be in museums. Like, we'd go to the city and we'd sell his drawings for like $2. He'd sit there just eating acid and just drawing for hours and hours and hours. And I don't know, man. It's kind of sad. But
so what did he OD on?
It's like a bit of a gray area because like we never really spoke about it with his family. Like I obviously spoke about it with them, but I never got into detail because I just didn't think it was the right thing to do. Like, I didn't want to be there and be like, oh, so what was in his system? Like, I didn't ask about the autopsy. Okay. But it was at the time where we were all eating like bottles of Xanax a day. Like, it got bad for years. All of us, we'd hang out every single day. We'd all meet at this one mate's house, and all we'd do is cones and Xanax, and that's it. And then it sounds fucked up. It sounds so junky now. Like, looking back on it, it's gross. But it's just, I don't know, man. It was normal, and it's, I don't even know what the question is, but I'm getting sidetracked.
What was it about? I guess why did you feel like it was?
Dude, I stopped thinking for once. Like,
yeah, okay.
I'd have it and I'm just in bliss. I just sit there. I just stop thinking. And it's rare because my brain's like a million miles an hour. I'm ADHD as fuck.
Okay, but like, what was there something that you were trying to escape from? Like, obviously,
Yeah, I feel like I've always like not known who I was. That sounds kind of deep, but that kind of just like numbed it. It put like a stop to it for a bit. It didn't matter. Like, nothing mattered then. I just was blissfully numb. What's the word? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I was just living a life that was just full of nothing.
Yeah. Well, to draw on that,
I was very happy with that at the time. That was like my thing.
Yeah. Well, to draw on that sort of vein, right? Like, I often talk about this on the podcast because I've spoken to so many people that I see this sort of, unfold. That, when you're growing up, you've got your parents, right? And your parents sort of are that guiding force, and you look at them and they're providing you with cues in terms of how you should view the world. A lot of people will share their parental views about, life or politics or something like that, just because that's how they grew up, right? Culture and society, right? And then as you get older, if you've got siblings, well, obviously your siblings are generally always there as well. So you never really have this time to sort of sit there and just reflect on your own self. And so then what happens is then we get older again and we develop our friends. And, when our parents sort of exit the picture a little bit, we don't hang out with mum and dad as much. We hang out with our mates. And again, we're still not really getting any time to work out who we are. And then generally the time when it hits you is when something big happens, or you move out of home and you're by yourself. And then you've only got two choices when you're by yourself, and you've moved out of home. You look in the mirror and you go, I fucking hate myself, right? And then you go out a lot, you party, you find mates, you find something to fill your time, right? Some people, for me, it was combat sports. I found combat sports and I was just fucking into combat sports, all right? And then for other people, they look at themselves in the mirror and they go, I need to do something about this because I don't like feeling this way about myself. And so then, they try and find those things to provide them with fulfillment. Some people find it through church. Some people find it through yoga. Some people find it through jiu-jitsu. Or some people find it through drugs and alcohol, right? So, for you to bring that up, Jude, I think that's a pretty interesting point. Like, when you say, you didn't really know who you were.
I feel like no one really knows who they are in a way. And life's kind of about like, I don't know, you kind of got to be okay with that.
Well, I think that's the whole journey.
Yeah, because if you really think you know who you are, I feel like you're wrong. I feel like no one's ever who they are forever, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like
you're constantly changing.
Always changing. Yeah, things are always changing though.
So I feel like if you focus too much on who am I, then it just spirals. It gets out of control.
So is that what you used to think about though? Is that why?
Dude, the deep thinker.
I'm not a deep thinker at all, to be honest, but I think it was, I don't know, I felt like I finally had people around me and that's what they were doing. And it started off just as fun and then it got to the point where it wasn't fun anymore. Yeah. And it was like everyone was doing this because we had to.
Yeah.
Like, not had to as in like, but it's just like we felt like we had to.
Yep.
Like no one really, yeah, I knew nothing else, man. Like I left school, I went to behavioral schools, been kicked out of like 3 schools. And it's like, I just never felt like I belonged, if that makes sense. I think that's why I took to GE so much as well.
Well,
like, we taking
all the outcasts.
Yeah.
So okay, let's go back to that towards the end of that journey, right, where you realise that this isn't the life that I want to live. So your mate passes away.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before that you had somebody trying to run you over. So what the fuck happened there?
I'm actually friends with the guy that tried to run us over now.
Okay.
He works near somewhere where I get food from quite often, and we talk. And I don't know if he remembers trying to run me over, but we're in Cherrybrook one day, and I'm walking up this path, and there's like this place called Greenway, and it's like where everyone goes to hang out, everyone smokes cones there. And it's like we're all going to the spot. Me and my mate with Jimmy, we're G'd up, we're ready to go. And then we turn around, there's a fucking Golf GTI come flying at us on the footpath. We're like, holy shit. My mate jumps into like a car, not into a car, but like jumps on top of a car right next to the road. I jumped to the side, and I was like, what the fuck? It's probably one of the craziest things that's happened to me.
Why?
Yeah, why? Like,
What did you do?
So basically, my mate owed money to someone, and my mate never paid people back because he, in his eyes, he's like, you got to come get me, and then I'll pay you back.
Well, he tried.
They fucking tried many times. Like, my mailbox got lit on fire. Like, so much shit happened. It was funny. But, yeah, my mate owed him money, and then I was actually talking shit to the guy. I was like, he's not going to pay you. Don't worry about it. Like, fuck off. And then just so happens that he must have been filling up his car because it's a servo right next to where we're walking. And he didn't even go off the road at the servo. He went straight onto the path and tried to get us.
Wow.
I don't know. I could tell you a million stories about people trying to hunt me down for money.
And so, okay. To sort of, you can probably touch on some more stories, but like, at what point did you ever pay any of them back, or like when did they give up?
I think they gave up
Still
when
chasing
they.
him now.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think they gave up because it just went on for so long, and I was elusive, man. No one's getting me. When it comes to money, I needed it. I needed to buy my weed, so no one's getting that money.
Wow.
It sounds bad saying it now, but that's just how it was. Like,
Yeah.
I needed the money more, so no one was getting paid.
And then, like, did your parents say anything to you at the time? Did they know, or apart from the thinking that you were sniffing deodorant?
Nah, okay. So after I was sniffing deodorant,
Yep.
my parents put me in a drug rehabilitation course
Oh wow.
when all I was doing was smoking weed.
Yep.
And then that's when I was kind of like shown everything else. Because I was like very sheltered growing up. My uncle has brain damage from an overdose.
Wow.
So like my parents, instead of addressing it, kind of just like, it's nothing. Like, don't worry about it. It was an accident. So I was always curious into what drugs were. So then when I found the people, I was like, all right,
Tell me.
show me. I want to feel it. I want to be a part of this. But yeah, I don't know. I feel weird talking about this. We're recording me talking about my life. It's so weird.
Yeah. Well, like everybody goes through some shit, right? Like, and there's just different levels of shit.
Yeah, it got pretty bad. It was very, very junky for a few years, but I'm glad I'm not doing any of that now.
Yeah. So, like, when you get put into this drug rehabilitation program, you're seeing people that are worse than you, right?
Way worse. Like, there was like crackheads. There was fucking people that were smoking ice, shooting up.
And
I'm
that
just there,
didn't put you off?
I loved it. It was my people. I was like, yes, this is like because like I felt like them already. Because like everyone was like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. And then like as a kid, when someone tells you shouldn't be doing something, usually you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, like I'm gonna do more of this. So like I don't know. I kind of found my people through that.
Yeah.
And then it got much, much, much worse. Very fast.
Yeah. And so then after your mate passes away, is that what, I guess, the catalyst for you to then turn around and say, fuck, this is too much?
A little bit. Like, it still went on for like a year and a bit after that. Like,
Yeah,
my mate
okay.
died, and that like made me realize what I was doing was wrong. Like, up until that point, I didn't think any of it was wrong. But then it was more like, I was just like stuck, and I was I'd say I was trying to find a way out, but I really wasn't. I was just like, I don't know. I was always drawn to it. I didn't want to stop, but I felt like because my mate died, for him, I had to. And it was very back and forth. Like, it wasn't like that, and then I was done. It was like back and forth for probably like 2 years after that.
Yep. And did you ever have any negative side effects from, like, I guess when I say negative,
Yeah.
we're not talking about now, but like,
Well, he's
Actually, yes. Still now to this day.
yeah?
I don't know, my liver's cooked.
Yep.
But do you mean side effects as in like during when I was doing it like full on?
Well, when you're coming off it, right? Like, aren't there
bro,
massive withdrawals and...
Yeah, I couldn't leave my room for a month. Like, I sat in my room and just played PlayStation, ate shit food, drank orange juice, threw up, and then, I don't know, after that month, I was like, all right, I got to start trying to get my shit together.
Yeah.
But then I went back down it again. So it's happened many times. Like I've stopped and then started, then stopped and started, stopped and started.
Yeah.
Now we're good. Yeah, we're done with that.
So,
for sure.
so for you, did you have to go cold turkey and be like, I can't touch any of this shit? Or
Yeah, because I tell myself, I'm like, oh,
I'll just do one and then
I'm just gonna like do a little bit today,
Yeah.
and then like if it's in my possession, I will do all of it straight away.
yeah,
Like I don't know, it's so gross to talk about.
Not the
But-
middle ground kind of guy.
No,
hey?
not at all, man. Like it was either none or all. Like, and I don't know. I just felt like I was definitely addicted, like 100% addicted.
yeah,
But I don't know, man. I just didn't. This sounds so depressing. I didn't like life sober. Like it was boring. Like what I can take this little thing, and this is gonna make me feel like a king for the rest of the day, or I can sit here and be depressed. And that was my thinking. Obviously, there's much more to it than that.
yeah.
But I don't know, man.
Fuck. Okay. All right. Well, let's sort of switch gears a bit because I'm also curious about when it comes to So obviously you left high school early, right?
Yeah.
And then for you, Hayden, did you leave high school early or you finished?
I went to year
You did
11.
TAFE, right?
Yeah, I went to TAFE, did my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness.
In fitness.
Yeah.
And so did you, like, I guess, what was the catalyst for you to do that? Did you say, okay, I need to do something and I enjoy health and fitness or?
Yeah, I'd started going to the gym and stuff, and I didn't really know what else I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of really the only thing I was enjoying at the time I was interested in.
Yep.
I was really interested in it at that point in time, so I was like, oh, if I can go and earn money doing it,
Yep.
might as well try. So I went to TAFE, and then I did that, and then as soon as I'd done that, I left and then started PTing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, can we talk a little bit about the PT lifestyle? Like, when you reflect on it, right? Like,
Coach Hayden.
Well, in terms of lifestyle, man, like there's the good and the bad. Like I really enjoyed the job working with people, the interactions I had, the helping people, the actual doing it. Like I really love health and fitness.
Yep.
I like all the ins and outs of nutrition and training and the science behind it. But in terms of lifestyle, it's a tough lifestyle. It's not for everyone. Like it's really early mornings, late starts, lots of hours. If you're working on the floor as a PT, it's not what it's always cracked up to be. Like,
yeah.
you're giving your time to every single person that you're with and you want to do a good job. So it can become very taxing. So when you go to do the things you want to do, your own training, like especially when I'm doing jiu-jitsu and things like that, it was very tough to then go and put my energy into that when you've been putting energy into every other person all day.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but while I'm trying to pursue sport and do all that other stuff,
Yeah.
it was definitely tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like, if you're the cook, like you're cooking a barbecue or whatever, I feel like you don't eat as much because you're just always smelling the
You're more
food.
worried
It's
about
the biggest
everyone
lie I've
else
ever
as
heard
well.
in my life. If
You
you're
reckon
cooking the
you-
barbecue, you're eating the
No, it's like-
most. I'm
Nah,
seeing
Like throwing a party, you don't really
Yeah.
enjoy your own party because
Yeah.
you're just too worried
You boys
making
ain't-
sure everyone else is
that-
having a good
You boys
time.
ain't doing it right.
You probably had the munchies, but dude, that's the fucking difference, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it's a tough way to make a living. I mean, it can be anyway. I was doing all right, but you got to put a lot of time into marketing and sales and building your clientele. And it's not the most stable way to make a living in my experience because, I find with people when times get tough for them financially, one of the first things to go is always, oh, what don't I, oh, my PT, I can do that on my own now. And then, you're constantly in this battle of bringing people in, keeping them around when they go, filling those gaps. So it's a very full-time job. Like people think, oh, I'm going to go be a PT. This is going to be cruisy hours. I'm going to make heaps of money. And you can, don't get me wrong, but man, there's a lot of work that goes into it as well. So
Yeah.
it's a tough thing to do if you're also trying to do a sport or,
Yeah.
your other relationships in your life can take a hit because you're giving so much, emotional time and energy to all your clients throughout the day. You go home to your missus and you just don't want to talk. You don't want to do things like that. You're just like, man, I need a break.
Well, it's one of those jobs where if you actually do a good job, your client hits their goals and then they go, oh yeah, I'm fucking where I
Yeah.
want to be. I just got to maintain it now.
No, 100%. Like I used to cop the heaps, like people that reach their, they lose their 10 kilos and they're like, oh, I can do this on my own now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll see you in 3 months.
Yeah.
And like for me as a PT, my goal was always to get people to the point where they could do it on their own.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, but also like, it's not the best when it comes to, if you're encouraging people to do things on their own and they end up going doing, like, oh shit, I've got to fill that gap now.
Yeah.
So I think there is a thing in the fitness industry where PTs make their clients very reliant on
them.
their presence,
Yeah.
which I mean, in terms of business, sure, that's great. But if you're actually trying to help people, I feel like you should be like the training wheels almost, and that they should leave knowing how to do the thing. Because at the end of the day, it's not that complex. You know, like if they've got a bit of discipline, they can get all their goals done. Like, you know, you play a valuable part in getting them to that point. But for me, it was always about getting them to that point, not necessarily about making them reliant on me to be there.
Yeah. It's funny, like chiros and physios are the same thing, right? Like
Oh,
if you're a good chiro and a physio, you get the person back on their feet, they get all their range of motion back. They're like, oh, I don't need you now. And wait, you're just waiting for the next injury. That's why chiros and physios love combat sports people, because we're always injured, right? But you know, the other one that I think is interesting is like Tinder. If you think about Tinder as a business, right? If Tinder was a great connector of people, of helping you find the right kind of people, your user base should be diminishing so rapidly, because people would get established into long-term relationships, and that's actually bad for business, right?
If you're trying to find love on Tinder, if you're trying to find love on Tinder, you're looking at the wrong place. Tinder is a cesspool.
So
there's one reason you use Tinder and one reason only. If you find your wife on Tinder, I feel sorry for you.
Someone's watching this probably like,
oh, do you want to know something funny? My oldest brother met his wife on Tinder.
Oh,
but they're the rare exception. That was like 7 years ago.
That
was like 7 years ago. If you download Tinder now looking for love, you are sick and you need help.
Well, but this is the thing that people take for granted, right? They go, oh yeah, and then this app's going to help me to find someone.
I feel bad for people like that, man.
Like, you don't realize that the app is actually, disincentivizing people from finding the right one. I'm not saying this is like some fucking conspiracy theory, right? I'm sure it sounds fucking conspiracy theory, but all I'm saying is that as a business, right? If your business is, you want users on your app, and when people successfully pair up, they leave the app, they leave your marketplace, right? But your goal is to have as many people in the marketplace. Well, you always want people to be continually searching for something better. Right, and that's how like society sort of conditions us. Like if you want to go, here's one that's tinfoil hat. Right, I was talking about this with someone else.
Tinfoil hat stuff.
I got one after straight away. You piqued my interest.
Okay, well, so this is one that I always bring up is like modern society. You know, if you were to say that it's okay for my wife to not work or whatever, people would say you're a fucking misogynist. Right, now, provided your wife doesn't want to work, should be absolutely nothing wrong with it. But the way society is geared. Is that, if you look at when they give you money from the government to go and send your kid to childcare, why do they do that? If they really cared about families, they just give you the money and you do whatever you want with it. So let's say it's like the arbitrary amount is like, okay, you get $200 a week. If you want to use that to pay for childcare so you can go to work, by all means do that. Otherwise, don't work. Use that $200 that you probably would have made working anyway and spend it however you like on your family, right? But the reason why they give it to you for that specific reason of going to childcare is to free the parents up so they can work, which means that why would they want 50% of the population not working, right? If every female had the option to not work once they had kids, I think a lot of them would prefer not to. There'd be some that say, no, I absolutely would want to work. And that's your choice, right? But by incentivizing and only giving that money for you to use it on childcare, well, where do you think they get the money to give you for that childcare? It's from your taxes that you're paying because you're fucking working.
Yeah. It's a weird vicious cycle, right?
Right? So that's where it's like, you have to actually spend a bit of time thinking about these things to realize that, hey, that's the way that they want it to be, because the whole idea behind having more people in the workforce is more tax money.
Yeah, I don't think that's such a tinfoil hat idea, to be honest. I think that's pretty
legit.
Yeah, I think society as a whole discourages like a family unit like it used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like parents in the workforce and stuff, kids in care, and doing all those things, like it doesn't encourage the growth of the children, with their parents and things like that. And I don't think it's the best.
Yeah,
to be honest.
All right, go on, Jude. You said you got one.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
So, if you go to a psychologist and they fix your problem straight away, they're not getting a lot of money. So they got to milk it. I know. That's why it related to the topic.
Yeah.
Shit on me, Hayden.
Absolutely.
Now I feel silly.
I wasn't. Go on, please.
Nah, I don't know. I've thought this for ages. I don't know why. I was stoned one day and I was just like, wait, if they fix you, they don't make money. And I thought it was the smartest thing I'd ever come up with in my life.
It's true. Like, I'll give you a recent example. So obviously my wife gave birth just a week and a bit ago. And so we came out of the hospital quite quickly, and then they send the nurses over to check on your baby. And like, they really make it feel like you got no choice. They're like, oh, you need to come back. Baby's not putting on enough weight. And so you feel like, okay, if we don't do the right thing, we're a shit parent. And then, but
that's
it's like
hard though when it's with your own kid. That's rough.
It's a very easy thing for them to play on.
I know that sucks. It's kind of evil if you think about it.
And so then okay, we take them back, and this is not to say there's a slight on the system or anything, but it was like I said to them straight up, because this is my fourth kid, so I knew that the first two had jaundice, and I was like, look, she's looking a little bit jaundiced. Why don't you just put her under the lights? And they're like, oh no, she's still below the necessary limit or whatever. In the end, that's what they ended up doing. They put her under the lights, and I was just like, if you just fucking listened,
what would
in
you
the first
though,
place,
right? Do it Johnny's way,
right? Like, look, I am Asian. I'm not a doctor.
I'm close enough though.
You're basically a doctor.
Yeah, and then it's like, so then when you go to sign the form, it was like, here's the release form, and then I realized, okay, yeah, so part of the reason why we're here is, it's obviously for the hospital getting their Medicare money, and, yes, they provided us with a service, and, they probably kept us more days than we may have needed to, or whatever the case may be, but hey, look, that's their prerogative, right? I don't say that in a negative way. Like, I think it's great to get that kind of care and making sure that everything's right. Like, it's a very tough one to sort of play on and say, hey, I don't think we should be here. When there could be something wrong. Like, so I do admire that they've got to do all those checks and balances to make sure you're ticking all the boxes and everything is right. But yeah, it was just one of those things that made me feel a bit like, I think we're getting a little bit milked here. Like, even though it's not coming out of our pocket directly, but it's like, they need it for the system.
Some unnecessary.
That's hard when it's with your kid though, because imagine you don't listen to them and then something happens to your child. You'd feel like the worst person in the world.
Well, so
they're kind of putting you in a corner in that way.
Yeah, like it's a bit of a trap, but reality is, and that sort of applies to a lot of modern medicine, is that, it's a lot easier to prescribe something to sort of, put the Band-Aid over it, rather than say, you know what, perhaps you should just eat a better diet, get better
Well,
sleep.
it's like we are just saying, man, like if people, they need something to cure you from, if they fix it, then there's nothing to keep selling you.
Yeah.
So it's like we were just saying about the physios and all that, PTing and stuff. It's just business in general.
Yeah.
If you're healing people and you're fixing them or giving them the answer to not need the medication in the first place, then there's nothing for them to make money off.
Yeah.
So it's a bad business model.
Yeah.
So of course they're just going to continuously bring people in and out like, oh yeah, take this, buy this, you need this now. Oh, you took that one, so now you need this one to counteract that one. It's just, it's the business model that they follow. So
Someone's phone.
that's mine.
He's a busy man. He's
Sorry.
getting hit up.
No, all good. Yeah. All right. So, Jude, for you, like when you started to clean yourself up a little bit, like what did you then do? Did you get a job? Did you?
I did nothing, man. I played PlayStation. I started a YouTube. I can't believe I'm saying this. I've never admitted this. I started a YouTube channel.
Yep.
And I started uploading videos of me playing Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
And I was obsessed. I was like, yeah, like this is all my energy went into that. Like,
and how did your channel do?
terrible. I started it with my Aboriginal mate from Melbourne, who I've never met to this day. I still talk to him, and we started a GTA YouTube, and we just like go around killing people, and we'd put music over it, and it was the coolest thing, man.
And is this channel still around?
It is still around.
You gotta plug it. You gotta plug it. People gotta know where this channel is.
LaggyNet, LAGGYNET dash.
LaggyNet dash. Okay.
Go watch.
I'm gonna go check out some of these.
It's embarrassing, man.
This is
And
the first thing I'm
hey,
telling
there's videos. Wait, there's videos that have been uploaded recently. That is not me. That
Okay.
is my mate.
That's your mate.
Yeah.
It's definitely Jude.
Yeah.
So then what? So then how did you like? What did you do then after playing PlayStation and trying to do this YouTube channel? Like,
I never did the YouTube channel with the intention of making money.
Okay.
It was like, there was like a small community in Australia that would like play GTA really, really seriously. And I was like a part of that. And I thought it was so cool, man. I felt like the king. Because I'd verse people and then I'd upload it and I'd just shit talk them. I'd be online like, fuck you, I'm the best, I'm the king, no one can beat me.
wow.
Well, yeah, I think that's why I like jiu-jitsu now. I like winning. It's fun.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And so then is that when you found jiu-jitsu or?
Yeah, kind of. Like, I've always been obsessed with video games and stuff. I don't know. It's like COD, all those games have always been obsessed. And then I think that's also probably why I like jiu-jitsu, because it is kind of a game in itself. Like, you have to get good at it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I'm not good at something, it bothers me so much. Like, not like I don't have to be the best ever and I'm like going to cry if I'm bad, but it's like, I'm not enjoying something unless I'm good at it. So it's like, when I started jiu-jitsu, obviously when you start jiu-jitsu, you suck.
Yeah.
Like, terrible. And I think that's why I was like, all right, I at least have to get somewhat good at this and then I can quit. And yeah, I still haven't quit, so.
Does that mean you're still not good?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately.
You always kind of suck anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Even when you think you're good, you're actually not that good.
Yeah. If you're not sucking, you're not winning.
And what about for you, Hayden? Like, I guess, so you live in that PT lifestyle, and then, you're already training by that stage, right?
Yeah. I started jiu-jitsu when I just turned 18. I actually probably started PTing around the same time. Actually, no, I started jiu-jitsu while I was at TAFE, because that's why I got into it so heavily from the start, because I had so much free time. I was only at TAFE twice a week.
Yeah.
So I was training every other day.
Yeah.
Where did you start?
Where did I start?
Yeah.
TP gym.
Team Parash?
No. It was in Caringbah. Turned into Life BJJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I started when I was at TAFE, and then I started PTing, and the hours still kind of worked. I was doing like 6 a.m. classes and then the midday classes, because like PTing is always split shifts.
Yeah.
So I was still training during the middle of the day, and I kind of kept that schedule, other than a brief period of time where I did a completely different job. Where, that
What
was
was
just
that?
a whole nother. I was fixing pools.
What the fuck?
Yeah. My girlfriend at the time, her
Pool
dad.
boy.
Yeah.
Come to
I
Lindsay
started
Pool.
working for you. It wasn't really like that. I was, shirtless, cleaning up the leaves and shit. It was more like being in a plant room, checking chemicals and shit. It wasn't as glorified as that. It was that, but no. So there was this awkward period of time where I did that for a bit and hated that. But I'm kind of grateful that I did that for that period, because it made the PT lifestyle seem a lot more favorable after doing, long days just on the tools all day and stuff like that. So I kind of was more grateful for what I was doing.
Yep.
And then I was doing that, and I've just kind of PT'd and done jiu-jitsu since I was 18. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
wow. And then, okay, like I guess, actually, I'm going to have to wrap up shortly, because I actually forgot when I booked this that my wife can't actually, go out and pick up the kids and stuff like that. So this is more like an hour of power of style of podcasting. We're going to do this more, but I think where we're going to take up from next time is I want to ask you guys about, why do you decide to pursue, this combat sport or jiu-jitsu as a professional
Still
style?
ask myself that.
Yeah, same.
There's no money.
So this is going to give these boys like maybe.
No, but you know what we were saying before?
Yeah.
How like you got to make that choice at some point. You can go and get a normal job and work a 9 to 5. And are you really going to be happy though? Like, I feel like you only get one chance to really do what you love. And unfortunately, I love the sport that pays zero money and is incredibly hard to make a living doing. But I'm passionate about it, so I'll find a way to do something in that field. Yeah, exactly.
Then if you make it, it's like,
yeah, and there's a lot of avenues to make money in the sport. You don't have to be a competitor. Like, you can open a gym, things like that. But, I'd rather do something I'm passionate about and make a little bit less money and actually enjoy what I do every day than make more money and just be fucking miserable every day.
Yeah.
Going to a job that don't want to be there. Like, I like coming to work at the moment. I love training every day.
Yeah.
And it's about that balance between, like you were saying, freedom, money. It's like, it's that sweet spot. You make enough to live, put a little bit away, but you get to do something you love every day. And I feel like for me personally, that's far better than if I was going to a job that paid me twice as much, but I just didn't want to be there. And all I wish I was doing was on the mats here. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing about it though is when it comes to relationships, like if you have a partner that doesn't fucking understand it, they just go, why are you still doing this? Like, if anything, you pay your gym memberships, you're paying to do the sport, you fucking get injured all the time. Your body's always a mess. You try and live like a very healthy lifestyle from that perspective that, you're probably not a lot of fun to be around with. And so for certain partners, they just don't understand it. Like, they just look at you and just go,
yeah. Jiu-jitsu's definitely ruined a relationship or two of mine, but I'm very lucky now. Like my girlfriend.
Yeah, my partner's quite supportive, so... My girlfriend, she's good. There's definitely times where she's like, what the fuck are you doing? But she gets it.
All right. Well, let's pull up there. We'll do more of these short form, 1 hour, blast a whole bunch of different things out. And we'll get, obviously more of the guys from the gym in and share plenty of crazy stories. But, do you boys need to plug any sponsors or anything?
Dids Fit. And I want to also say thank you to Street X for sending me stuff. I love you, Daniel.
Yep, beautiful. Hayden, you need to...
Sponsors, just plug Grappling Education, the Undisputed Performance and Rehab.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Undisputed Performance.
Don't forget Undisputed Performance and Rehab.
But then, if any
Ethos
sponsors...
Performance
Yes.
is always... I would like to touch on that next time.
Okay.
Something.
You work with me?
I've been doing my programming for like 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
Well, shout out Mir because I'm going to catch up with him probably close to when the September card is on, and we're going to talk more things, sports and performance. But Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, 1 hour of power with these two boys, Hayden, Jude. Give yourselves a shout out your own Instagrams.
Hayden Limebeer on Instagram. That's it. That's it.
Jude Kean, JudeKeann. So an extra, and also if anyone wants to sponsor me,
That's
all
it.
you got to do is send me something free, and
You got a man for hire there. What about you, Hayden? When it comes to sponsorships,
as long as you're a good brand, and I don't want any sponsorships that I'm not actually gonna be proud of.
I don't care. I'm a sellout.
Yeah.
Just everything. I don't care.
But no, I'm open. So if anyone's interested, definitely hit me up.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, Matt. All right, we'll call it there, and we'll do it again.
Easy.
All right, thanks everyone.